but I have a concern about the part of the bill that requires people to report something to the government. Because we don't do that in this country. We don't normally do that. If I'm walking down the street and I see somebody commit a murder, I have no legal obligation to report that to anybody, be it government or otherwise. I may have a moral obligation, absolutely. But I don't commit a crime when I don't report that. But under your bill, if I fail to report something that I've seen and documented with photograph or video, I've committed a crime. I have concerns about that. Germany used to have some things like that back in the 30s and 40s, and Russia tried that as well, by requiring people to spy on their neighbors and report suspicious actions to their government. But we don't do that normally. Can you tell me why we need to put that kind of burden on this type of misdemeanor charge when we don't do it for murder or rape or kidnapping or any other serious felony?
Well, actually, we did it yesterday here on the House floor. Item 46, House Bill 1158, Speaker Pro Tem Johnson brought the bill. Education, as introduced, requires local board of education to add its zero tolerance policy, the transmission by electric device of a credible threat or cause bodily injury or death to another student, requires the reporting and punishment of such prohibited conduct by certain persons, imposes certain liability for failure to report or punish. So I think that we oftentimes have done this in the past. We do have a statute that relates specifically to child abuse that's very synonymous to the good senator the good representative from Shelby County's amendment that was brought up.
Describing, I believe, was an education situation where there's a government employee, a teacher, or a school that has put the government into that situation and report something. But we don't require Joe Blow walking down the street who may see a crime to report that crime in most situations. The bill requires, as amended, that the report has to be reported to a law enforcement agency. Which law enforcement agency is it reported to?
It says a law enforcement agency with jurisdiction over the alleged offense.
So the intent of the bill is to report it to any one of those. I mean, you can send your tape to the FBI in Washington, and that's fine as long as you've mailed your tape in.
Yeah, they have jurisdiction over that area, so that would be correct.
Do you really think that's tight enough? I would want the bill to be crafted such that it's reported to the local sheriff's department or the local municipality if it was in there. Your bill doesn't do that. It lets them get away with sending it to wherever. I don't like that.
I think I have faith enough in the public to determine where the best outlet would be if they, again, have intentionally, knowingly, willfully gone out, they've endeavored to find this abuse. I have faith enough in that individual that they would seek out the most appropriate law enforcement agency that has jurisdiction over that crime and make sure that it's punished appropriately.
You've got more faith in the animal rights folks than I do, because I think if they have the option to do it, they're going to send it to the agency that's least likely to do anything about it. I don't like that. I would much prefer this bill to say that it's sent to the local sheriff's department in the county in which the offense occurred. Your bill lets them send it to Washington. I don't want it to be sent to Washington. That's a major, major problem with this bill. And the last issue I've got that is a technical issue, but it's very important, is the bill creates a Class C misdemeanor punishable by fine only. How are we supposed to enforce that offense? How is someone charged with that offense? A fine-only misdemeanor is completely and totally unenforceable. You cannot arrest for a fine-only misdemeanor. You can cite into court. If the person doesn't come to court, you have no means of enforcement. You can't arrest them because it's not an arrestable offense. The only other thing we do that for I know of, except for a few really unenforceable statutes or speeding tickets, the way they are enforceable is because you can pull their driver's license if they don't come to court. The bill, as you've got it, well-intentioned as it is, and as much as I agree with your intentions, the bill is unenforceable because you can't arrest somebody for the crime that you're creating. Are you sure that's what you want to do, to create a crime that's completely unenforceable?
I don't think the crime is unenforceable.
Okay. If you can't make them come to court to answer for the crime, how do you enforce it?
Is it illegal to not come to court? Failure to appear?
A court could possibly issue a contempt petition for failure to appear. If you don't specify that in this statute, I don't think you can ever get them into court under a fine-only misdemeanor.
I have faith enough in our police departments across the state to recognize that they understand how to process the law.
I understand, but the law is only as good as the people who write it, and as correct as the people who write it, and we're drafting a bill, a law that's unenforceable here. And I've repeatedly got up and advised members of this body and members of the Judiciary Committee that fine-only misdemeanors are unenforceable. I want a bill that works. I want a bill that will allow for these animal rights groups who go out and do something wrong to be held accountable, and the bill doesn't do it without some changes.